Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We have a few minutes still here before Shabbat services begin, and so we'd like to invite you to unmute and welcome one another. It's so nice to see everyone. It's nice to see those of you from that we can see from here up. It's also nice to see everyone who is full-faced.
Say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Hi, Shabbat
Say
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. What do you say?
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Did he say Shabbat Shalom?
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. That's a good one.
That's cheating.
Hi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
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 Glad that you come here a little bit early.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Those are
We're
Shabbats.
going to, oh, Ruth, is that you? No. Wait a minute.
Oh.
All right, well, we're going to begin with a little bit of singing before
You want us to do some
our
singing?
services start. So let's go ahead and mute everyone. That way you can sing along and there won't be that delay. I think that I might just do that. There we go. Okay, we'll just do a little bit of singing before we begin. And Cantor, I think I'll just do that one, the Nigun that we like to start with, and then let you take it from there. I hope that you'll join with me. Breath in, breathe it out slowly. Shabbat Shalom. Matt Richardson, Shabbat Shalom to you. Cantor Aviva, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I love that Nigun. It really inspires Shabbat. It's become almost our socially distant healing prayer. I feel like we sing it when we gather, and I think I've underestimated how therapeutic it is for me to hear that at the beginning of Shabbat. I am in the sanctuary. I am joined by the very talented Matt Richardson. I'm very grateful that he's here. And we thought we would sing a new song unto God. Mizmor Shir, please join us. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Giordano.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As always, it's just wonderful, wonderful to see all of you and to celebrate Shabbat with all of you. I do know I say it every week, but this really, truly is the highlight of my week when I get to celebrate Shabbat with you. And once again, this Shabbat, I am feeling joyful. I am feeling hopeful. The days are lengthening, the weather is getting better, and the positivity rate for the coronavirus is getting lower. I'm entering the Shabbat with hope and with optimism. But even with this hope, there is great sadness as well. In the wake of another shooting in Georgia, once again, we've been deeply saddened by hate crimes in our country. And once again, we hope that there will be a better day, a brighter day, when these are no more. So as we enter Shabbat together, I invite all of you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And one more. And as we reflect on our week, I invite you to think about one thing that was a challenge for you in this past week and one thing that brought you joy. Was there one thing in this past week that made you feel blessed? One thing you hope to carry with you into this Shabbat? So with these things in mind, I offer us a reading to help us get into the mind frame for Shabbat. A Torah begins with us receiving the gift of Shabbat. God blesses us with this holy day. We open our hearts, our minds, our beings to accept the gift of Shabbat, the covenant between our people and our Creator. We keep Shabbat, and Shabbat keeps us. It is a day for returning to our roots, for reconnecting with our spirituality, a time to pray and to study, to learn and to rest. Each week on this holy day, we turn our vision inward. We seek out that still, small voice, which is God calling to us. As Torah speaks of heaven and earth, the land and the sky, there is a belief that the eternal lives in those places. But there's also a belief that the eternal lives in none of those places, because instead, God lives in each and every one of us. And on this week and every Shabbat, let us go forth into the world, doing the work of good work, of bettering our world. We can truly embrace Shabbat by becoming our best selves, by learning to appreciate our differences and honoring the promises that we made to God and to one another. So with these ideals in mind, we now welcome Shabbat with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And it gives me great pleasure tonight to welcome the Oregon family to light the Shabbat candles. Tomorrow, Drew is being called to the Torah on the event of his bar mitzvah. And I know this is going to be an incredibly moment for the whole family, for his parents, Jason and Deborah, for his brother, Matthew. And I know it takes hours and hours and hours to prepare for a bar mitzvah. We are so proud of you. We are so excited for you, Drew, and your whole family. So I turn it over to you guys now to please help us welcome Shabbat tonight.
Ready? All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu
Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. All right.
Amen. We are looking forward to hearing more from you tomorrow, Drew, and we will invite your family to lead us in the Kiddush. If you have something sweet to raise a glass with, please do with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu l'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tachila l'mikrei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodeshecha v'ahava u'ratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen, and congratulations to the Oregon family. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And just perhaps we have some friends and family who are joining us tonight from near and far to join the Oregons, and especially Drew on this wonderful occasion. And I just want to say hello to all of you, because Jason Oregon and I grew up together, and so we have lots of family friends in common, and I think perhaps some of them are here. It's wonderful to have all of you with us. Drew, congratulations already. I know that tomorrow is going to be lots of fun. I'm so excited that we get to be in person, and I also do want to take a moment and let you know that there will be some gifts waiting for you from the congregation, from your clergy team who loves you, and from all of us. We want to just say congratulations. There's even a gift from the Jewish Federation of Greater Indianapolis to let you know that the whole community is celebrating with you tonight. Mazel Tov and Shabbat Shalom to all of you. We now turn our thoughts to Kabbalat Shabbat, and I'd like to introduce that set of liturgy with this intention. Kabbalat Shabbat is an ingathering of exiles. It is a giant blanket pulling fabric from all corners of the world. This is why we face Jerusalem traditionally from wherever we are. That shelter, that covering, that embrace, it centers us there. But it also connects us through feeling across the globe and for all who suffer, especially those who suffer a prejudice, a stereotype, especially those who have not the voice to answer it. For wherever suffering cries out, the Jew weeps, says the poet. Our pain, like a virus, it knows no boundaries, no race, no religion, and yet we insist on singling one another out, pointing fingers and declaring supremacy. So tonight, we enter Shabbat, and we cast our lot with all who live in fear of walking home alone, of driving while black, of living an immigrant's dream from China or Japan, from Mexico or Honduras. For we cannot help but when Shabbat gathers us in its embrace, to grab their hands with ours, to see the Jewish struggle as a struggle for all of us, for all races, all religions, and all humanity. This is our Shabbat. It is good to praise God together. We join our voices into one. l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon. See if you can join with me on that one. We'll repeat it again. Here we go. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon. On this, the day of days, my lips shall sing your praise, for I know that you'll always be here surrounding me. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Uzamer l'Shimcha Elyon. We take deep breaths in with each of these psalms, putting behind us the Shabbat that has passed, connecting ourselves to our sanctuary with Cantor Viva, connecting ourselves to one another's homes through this Zoom technology, and feeling in this moment as if we were together welcoming the Sabbath bride. Likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekavela, lecha dodi. Likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekavela. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach.
So we just sang the beautiful words of Lecha Dodi. I love the Lecha Dodi, and I especially love the last stanza of Lecha Dodi, which begins with the words, Boi b'shalom, which is translated to enter in peace. When we are in person, this is a moment when we all stand together and we face and we turn the entrance of the sanctuary to greet the Sabbath bride. I love this communal moment in a service, especially when we all get to stand together. So even on Zoom, we try to recreate this moment, inviting all of us to rise in spirit together. But in addition to this communal aspect of this moment, what I appreciate about this moment is the words to enter in peace. Here we are being reminded about how we enter a space and how that impacts our experience once we get there. We also reminded about what happens not only to us when we enter a space, but also to everyone who is in that space already. When we enter a space with a mind frame of peace, we can help to create peace for ourselves and those around us. We can foster peace in our world. So when we enter Shabbat with this peace in mind, hopefully the peace will stay with us throughout Shabbat and hopefully the week to come. So with that, we continue with Shalom Aleichem, which also focuses on this idea of peace and entering in peace.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We invite you to rise in body or spirit as we offer our call to prayer. As the sun in Indiana begins to set later and later, even into the evening, as spring forward gives us more light, we become acutely aware of just when in the day we do roll into dark. We find a new sense of gratitude with every extra minute of sunlight. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Oreyom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. She confidently announced most events will be held online. The NPR announcer this afternoon had the confidence of someone for whom this announcement has become very familiar. She went on to tell her listeners that the cherry blossoms, however, were beginning to bloom in the beautiful streets of Washington, D.C., even though the annual Cherry Blossom Festival will be held mostly online. The juxtaposition of celebratory events held online for humans, while God's natural beauty blossoms outdoors, is not lost on me. In Judaism, we have long considered the two ideas that we are, in fact, but dust and ashes, and yet we hold that the world was created for us alone. As we as a society begin to slowly re-enter, like a cherry blossom eagerly and cautiously springing into bloom, let us always be acutely aware of just how small we are. May we always be humbled by the giant that is Mother Earth, and may we know that perhaps if we just pause and listen to what nature has done in the last year without our interference, we will hear a calling for us to do better. It is with that sense of listening that we turn to our Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochpecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet connects those two prayers together. The love that we feel for God, God feels for us, and then the word truth, which then introduces us to this moment, the Israelites standing at the shores of the sea. I offer this intention for us. Life's pathways look twisted and complex. We search through our own wilderness for a sense of purpose, for direction, for meaning. But so often the road ahead is unclear, our path not yet defined for us. And yet, all we need to do to find the thread that connects our present to our future is to look behind us at the path that has led us to this point. No matter the journey, when we reflect back on choices made, doors closed and opened, it seems that there could have only been that one straight line defining how we became who we are. The road ahead may look uncertain, a winding, twisting path leading to where? But we only know it is a land promised to us and to our ancestors. And like the Israelites, we are forever perched at the shores of the sea. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilo, osei fele, nora tehilo, osei fele, Adonai, iloch leolam va'ed. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. I don't know that that is the specific melody that the Israelites sang on the shores of the sea, but I know that their melody was full of joy as well. I also know that as they made their way across that dry bed, perhaps a bit of a muddy bed, they began to contemplate what lay ahead of them. They knew what was behind them. They had no idea what was in store for them ahead. It was only at that moment a vision, a thought, a single thought, that they were going into freedom to bring a new kind of society into the world, to fulfill God's wish for us in the world, and to make this a more perfect place. That thought is embodied in no other tradition more than our ritual of Shabbat. It is our moment to recreate that thought that the Israelites carried with them across the sea, to recommit ourselves to the creation of that world. It is indeed a powerful thought if we learn to bring it to fruition. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering its song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering its song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. La 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 la, ya la la, ya la la la. Svatai Tivtach, Ufi Yagin Tehilatecha. Adonai Svatai Tivtach, Ufi Yagin Tehilatecha.
We rise in body or spirit for the Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei hakol, vezocher chastei avot v'imahot, umevi geula lifnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, melech ozer Moshia umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei kol atarav leoshia, mashiv haruach umorit hagah Hashem, mechakeh lechaim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, milchamocha bal gevurot, umido melech, melech memit umechayei, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata le'achayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We continue now with a moment of silent prayer.
May the words of our mouths, the meditations of our hearts, that is, the prayers that we found words for tonight, the prayers that were expressed in the ancient liturgy, or the ones that simply found their way out, that are now swirling over our heads, combining together and ascending to, as the tradition says, the foot of God's holy throne. But also those prayers that we could not find in this moment. Also the prayers that were so deeply buried or so painful that we don't have words to express them. May God accept those prayers as well that live as a thought or a feeling in our soul, in our heart, in our mind. We want to make sure to include a prayer as a community each and every Shabbat for healing. And we recognize each and every Shabbat that healing takes many forms. It's not always cure. Sometimes healing is just finding wholeness and acceptance with the brokenness of the world, the pain that we suffer. We now want to reach out to those in our midst, those who we are very acutely aware of who are suffering right now, perhaps even for ourselves. Please feel free to use the chat function to list the names of your loved ones or your family members or friends, or for each other. We'll make sure to mention their names. Before we sing together a prayer, a song for healing, we also want to make sure to mention the following whose names are with us, whose healing is in our heart. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Dorrit Paul, Stuart Abramson, Aaron Withers, Cyril Ann Rosenberg, Floyd and Deanna Friedman, Brian Davis, Nancy Bonham. Also, take a moment to see those who have been listed in our chat. In this moment, we hold in our hearts Ty, Michael Rexroth, David Sachs, Anna Beth Spalding, Jerry Stern, Doreen Zisla, Jill Ross, Mickey Jeschke, Richard Tarmolin, Randy Mara, Julie Wechter Smith, Diana Deleuze, Janet Stockbridge, Lori Wechter, Judy Pattinger, Gary Wood, Shelley Iltis, AJ and Don, Jen Sarche, Harold and Susie Rastall, Lindsay Smith, Lainey Shipper, Randy Mara for healing, Karen, Robert Quaid, Malachi Condor, Kay Cameron, David and Zach Berman, Michael Shapiro, Rosemary, Ruth Roth, Shauna Clausen, Kendra Clausen, Jerry Bardy, Michael Welber, Miley Clausen. We hold all of them in our hearts. So we sing, those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful music this evening. So it is hard to believe, but Passover begins in just over 2 weeks from tonight. While this year we are still not yet freed from the coronavirus, we are getting closer with the vaccine and the decreasing positivity rates. So even though things are still a bit unusual, are there special Passover traditions for you? Are the things that you need in order for it to actually really feel like Passover? For example, are there certain foods you need to eat or songs you need to sing? So take a minute and really think about it. What are the symbols of Passover for you? So as you think about this, I want to share a few of my family traditions. These are the things that I need for it to feel like Passover for me. And because we're on Zoom, I actually have a visual aid for you. This is a very specific Haggadah. I hope you can see it. And this is what makes it feel like Passover for me. And this is a very unique Haggadah because my mom actually put it together when my sisters and I were young children. And we have literally been using it for as long as I can possibly remember. I cannot imagine Passover without using this specific Haggadah. So I want to tell you a little bit more about this Haggadah. So since my sisters and I were so young, it was our job to provide the illustrations for this Haggadah. And unfortunately, because I was 5 or 6 years old, my illustration skills were rather limited at the time. So as I drew my pictures of Moses and Miriam and Pharaoh and the Israelites, they ended up looking more like pregnant frogs than people. So instead of creating new pictures as we got older, we use these pregnant frog illustrations, and they have become now part of our family tradition. So when we turn to the pages of the Haggadah with the pictures of these pregnant frogs, we all now have a good laugh about them, and it becomes part of our Passover storytelling. And part of what makes Passover so holy for me is when we turn to those pages in the Haggadah, not only do they have those memories, but they are also stained with food and wine for using this Haggadah for so many years. So this moment when we get to these pictures not only connects me with the history of the Jewish people, but it also connects me with my family and all of the years that we have lovingly been laughing at these pregnant frogs. So we are currently working on a revised version of the Haggadah that is now being illustrated by my children and their cousins, so they can have their own version of these pregnant frogs, and they can layer that in with our memories as well. So to me, this Passover Seder is really all about that. This Passover Seder is supposed to be a tactile experience involving all of our senses. If you think about it, we eat certain foods and we drink wine and we sing certain songs. Our Passover Seders are filled with life, and intentionally so, and they are supposed to be messy. Even though the word Seder means order, the Seder itself includes aspects of messiness. So this combination of holiness and messiness is actually very reflective of our tradition, which often incorporates both things. This overlap between holiness and messiness is actually found in this week's Parsha, Vayikra. This week we're at the very beginning of the book of Leviticus, and the book of Leviticus looks at concepts of holiness and how we are supposed to achieve it. It separates the holy from the mundane and uses sacrifices as a means of purification, and also as a way to express thanks to God. There are descriptions of the requirements for these sacrifices, which are explained in great sensory and a lot of detail. and a lot of messy detail as well. So in this week's Torah portion, we read very specific instructions about how the priests are supposed to offer these sacrifices to God, especially doing so on behalf of the Israelite people. For example, the text reads, Moses led forward the bull of purgation offering. Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the bull of the purgation offering, and it was slaughtered. Moses took the blood and with one finger put some on each of the horns, and then at the altar, purifying the altar, and he poured the blood on the base of the altar, and thus it was consecrated. And on and on and on in great exacting detail are described the various kinds of sacrifices that we are supposed to make and how we are supposed to perform them. There are instructions about what happens to the blood, where it's supposed to splatter, what happens if blood gets onto the priest's clothing, and on and on and on. The rituals of the sacrifices are incredibly detailed and specific. Everything needs to be done in a very certain way in order for it to achieve the holiness that is intended to achieve. There are lines and connections, but in these lines, what I think is more important is the connection between the holiness and messiness. In these rituals, it is actually messiness that leads to holiness. So as the priests created these holy experiences, they got messy. They were literally covered in blood. And this is usually a substance that is thought of as being impure or unclean. But here, the blood is being used for purification and to connect with God. Being part of being messy for the priest is actually their obligation. Not only can they not avoid the mess, it is precisely the mess that makes the sacrifices holy. So let me be clear here. I am in no way advocating for the return of the animal sacrifice as part of our ritual. I have been a vegetarian since college, and I find great comfort that this is no longer the path for us to holiness. But I do appreciate the connection that these sacrifices make between messiness and holiness. I think one of the lessons that this Torah portion is trying to teach us is that we should be less afraid of messiness and see it as part of holiness. It presents us with an opportunity to ask how we can change our understanding of both messiness and holiness to make them work with one another. So I have an example for you. A friend of mine begins her in-person High Holy Day services by asking people to turn to their neighbors on both sides and apologize to them for singing off key. And I hope that Cantor Mayor will forgive me when I say that I would rather have the cacophony of voices of a congregation singing together, even if they are singing off key. I think that is far better than a silent congregation that is afraid of singing incorrectly. I love to hear the congregation deeply immersing in prayer, singing together, especially when they are singing a song to God, a new song to God, Shir Ladonai. I love the holiness that this prayer experience can bring. So in this example, the messiness is in the notes, but the holiness happens when the community sings together. As a baker, I have always loved a happy kitchen. A kitchen can be a heart of a home, and especially when it is filled with people enjoying one another's company. I know I have shared with you before, but I love to bake with my children, especially before a Jewish holiday. My children often help me bake, and when they help me, whatever I am doing takes twice as long, and my kitchen ends up by being twice as messy. But I would not want it any other way. I do find true sanctity when we prepare for Jewish holidays together, when we do so with baking and all of the messiness involved in that. Part of what I love so much about my parents' Seder are the stains on that Haggadah that I showed you. The stains remind me of all of the years that we have used these books. It makes me think about all of the community that have gathered together to celebrate Passover over the years. It also connects me with the memories of my family and the Passovers we have celebrated together using those Haggadot. We began using them when we were very young children, and now our children use those very same books. The stains on those pages contain not only the story of the Jewish people, but also my family story and the journey that we have taken as well. So like the Torah portion suggests, it is this precisely the messiness on the pages of this Haggadah that is my connection to holiness. So as adults, we often stay away from things that are messy or things that we don't do well. We are often encouraged to draw within the lines or stay with the things that we know. But this Torah portion is reminding us to get a little bit messy and to step out of our comfort zones. How we do this can be different for each one of us. But I think the reminder here is to appreciate the holiness that comes from messiness and to allow ourselves to get a little bit dirty. Vayikra reminds us that when we allow ourselves to get a little bit messy, then we can create holiness in our experiences. There are many paths to holiness, but I hope that adding a little bit of messiness to them can help us get there in new ways. So in the weeks ahead, I hope that we all have the opportunity to get a little bit messy and that we feel some holiness from it. So hopefully in next year at Passover time, we can all include some new messy traditions to our Passover ritual, and that those will connect us to Jewish tradition, to one another, and to new paths to holiness. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Rabbi Jordana. I promised that I did not know that Rabbi Jordana was speaking about singing off key, but I am very, very grateful for not having Cantor Viva with me or my wife, Tammy. It's really hard. So thank you I should apologize for singing off key as well, and we'll get ready for the High Holy Days that way. Shakoach, Rabbi Jordana, thank you. I'd like to take a moment to invite Betsy Backey, member of our board of directors, to share a word of welcome. Shabbat Shalom, Betsy.
Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice to see everyone tonight. A warm welcome to all of you. Thank you to our clergy and staff for such a lovely service. And a reminder to please check out our ihcindy.org website and Facebook page for updated programs and services. And a little reminder that in this next week, there is a Sisterhood Women's Seder on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. So please join. You can still register, I believe. And also there is a second night Seder on Saturday, the 28th at 5 p.m. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Betsy, and Shabbat Shalom to you. We've come to that moment in our service where we reflect on the losses that we have sustained. Part of that messiness of life that makes life a rich tapestry, the dark threads helping to illuminate the entire work of art. We know that we all bring our private losses into this space. We also know that our community has suffered loss. And so while I read the names that have been listed here for our congregational family, I invite you also to use the chat once again and share with us the names of those who you are remembering in this moment. On this Shabbat, we remember Betty Bernstein, Karen Rosentraub, Carolyn Leeds, who have all been taken from our congregational family during the past month and whose families are in the period of Shiva and Shloshim. We also remember those lives that were taken so senselessly in an act that, whether or not it is legally called an act of racism, we know it is a similar hate to the one we have experienced in the world. And so we remember those victims as well. We remember Delania Ashley Yon, Paul Andre Michaels, Zhao Chi Tan, Dao Yu Feng, Soon Si Park, Hyun J. Grant, Suncha Kim, and Young A. Yu. We also acknowledge in this moment all of those whose yahrzeits occurred this week, the anniversary of their passing. On this Shabbat, we remember Rose Ansel, Louis Arkish, Charles Breeden, Grace Christensen, Evelyn Clayman, Dina Cohen, Millie Cohen, Gordon Cohen, Frida Eichenberg, Sarah Eskenazi, Nancy Feldman, Morton Gelman, Helen Goldman, Lillian Goldstein, Raymond Heffron, Rose Herman, Jenny Kennis, Rudolph Clapper, Lillian Kabursky, Meyer Lazarus, Bessie Leopold, Laser Levy, Max Litt, Donna Lucas, Robert McCann, William Medius, Shirley Morgan, Ruth Moss, Adeline Pachter, Todd Pearson, Lila Pearlstein, Jacqueline Phillips, Ben Ratner, Irving Irv Rhines, Marilyn Roger, Rosa Rosenberg, Aaron Rubin, Thelma Sands, Walton Sykonoff, Burton Signer, Louis Trockman, Emmanuel Unger, Julian Weil, George Wise, Serene Whittles, Anna Wolf, Martin Yale, Leah Yampolskaya, Jeffrey Yallis, Lillian Yallis. We also remember those who are listed in our chat this evening. On the Shabbat, we remember Melinda Wall, Bertha Brooks Morris, Christina Artley, Richard Morgan, Betty Bernstein, Sandy Simbel, Barbara Gephardt, Jean Chernow, Larry Burns, Alan Kratenstein. We say Zichronam Livracha. May all of their memories be for blessing. We join together in the words of Mourner's Kaddish. You're welcome to stand if that is your custom. Yigadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudsha brichu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvachata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlomo Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. In addition to this prayer for peace for our people, we offer these words as a prayer for peace for all who dwell on earth. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. We say once again together,
Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom to all of you. My daughter Sierra is joining me here as we bless this challah. And if you have a challah with you, this is a great time to go find it and let's see them all. Let's put them all in front of us. And this is a wonderful symbol of Shabbat because we know that the only way that challah becomes as sweet as it is for us to take the raw ingredients that we've been given from the earth, to work them carefully, to offer gratitude for all of those workers and farmers and produce who have made this, all the ingredients for us in the stores, and also for the community that allows us to bless it together. Please join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom to you. We would love it if you want to stick around for a moment and unmute yourself. Let's wish one another a Shabbat shalom. A week of
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Hi,
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Chet.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Stanley.
Oh, hi, Lauren. You're on.
Shabbat shalom, we miss you.
Shabbat shalom.
You right there?
Wait till we're together.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Marion.
Julia.
Hi. Tilden and Kathy.
Mistletoe, Morgan family.
Hi.
Excited.
Shabbat shalom.
Hi.
See you guys. See you next weekend.
See you next weekend. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And Ruby.
Yeah.
Numbers are going down.
Excited.
Shabbat shalom to all of you.
She already got off.